We're going to start recording this session. So first of all, thanks so much for everybody jumping on. Welcome to the Milwaukee HubSpot user group. It's been a long time, obviously, seeing everybody in person. Crystal was kind of talking about that. We're excited to be able to get going here and see each other at an event in person. But I think for now in 2021, we're going to be sticking to the virtual stuff, and then as things change, we'll let you know if we're going to do some in-person events, and maybe we switch it up, have them locally here in Brookfield. But for those that aren't in Wisconsin, welcome. My name's Steve James. I'm a partner at Stream Creative. We are a HubSpot partner agency. We've been a solutions partner for 11 years now, so we've been around since 2010. Started the agency in 2006 and had the opportunity to talk with Brian Halligan back then in 2009, 2010-ish, and decided to kind of start utilizing HubSpot for ourselves and then with our clients. So we are a full service marketing agency. We work within the tool every day. We have a ton of specialists on the team that use it. And as well as we're just accredited trainers and part of the HubSpot training academy and the accreditation stuff. This is my family. So I have two boys, Aiden and Rylan, and then my beautiful wife, Amy. We're huge baseball fans, which is awesome to be getting out there this year and being out and going to the ballpark quite a bit. So I'm excited for Miller Park to open up to 100% capacity pretty soon. So that's who I am, and from our agency. Just want to go through a couple housekeeping things. So we missed obviously Q1. So I apologize for everybody that we weren't doing a HubSpot user group in Q1, but that was pretty intentional on HubSpot side of things as they were rolling out this new tool. So we're utilizing a new tool called Bevy. Seems like everybody was able to get in. It's working well so far. So we're using this moving forward. There won't be any Zooms. It's going to be a pretty nice tool, like I was just talking about. There's the chat features. We have the Q&A, the DMs. We could do some breakout rooms, but I think moving forward, that was a big rollout in Q1 for HubSpot, was to get everybody on this big platform. And then the other big thing is that they now opened up hugs beyond the local level. So this is a pretty cool thing. So this campaign that they're running right now, this 75 hugs in 5 days, I put this in the chat at the very top, this link. And basically you can go on this page and you can see all the different types of city hugs, but you can also see some global hugs that are industry specific, as well as just topic specific. So, which is pretty neat. So there's an automation hug now, there's an SEO hug, there's a sales and alignment one, content marketing hug, and you're able to join these. So if you can go to that 75 hugs link or the events link, you could see here at the bottom of the events page, you can see that there's the different locations, but then under other events, you can kind of get a sense of what those other kind of hugs are as well. So feel free to explore those. I think that's a pretty cool feature that has been rolled out. And I think, I'm going to be joining quite a few different ones as well, just to learn from different people all over the world. If you have any questions about that, feel free to shoot me an email or DM me here while Crystal's speaking. I can kind of look at the chat. So I just wanted to kind of go through that. And then a couple other quick things. So from a topic standpoint, I'd love to kind of get a sense of like what people are interested in for our next ones after this. So I'm just going to post this in the chat right now. And if you want to just quick answer A, B, C, or D, or if there's another one you're interested in, I'll kind of monitor that as well and take notes. And as we'll look at new speakers coming up, either from HubSpot or locally, we can look at those topics. So please feel free to answer there. And then a couple other things. So right before we jump on, I'll drop in the NPS link. So HubSpot really wants to make sure that everybody enjoys the platform, enjoys the topics that we're doing, want to get a sense of from a general score of how they feel like the community is working with HubSpot user groups. So I'll drop that in shortly, and feel free to click on that at the end of the session. And then in the email, I think I mentioned a swag link. So HubSpot is working through some logistical stuff for swag. So everybody that is attended the event, in the follow-up email, anybody that registered in the follow-up email, there'll be a swag link and you'll be able to get some HubSpot swag. I'm not exactly sure what that involves yet, but I will let you know in the follow-up email. So there'll be kind of the presentation. We'll have this recording. We'll have the links for what I just mentioned in that follow-up email. And then we'll also try to define a date for Q3, Q4 for upcoming events. We might not have exactly that speaker lined up yet, but I'll let you know at least the date so you can kind of plan ahead, mark that off. And then obviously you'll be part of the emails that we follow up with. So that's kind of where we're at there. So everybody that jumped on early saw Crystal and I talking a little bit. I'm extremely excited to have Crystal speak and present today and kick off our Milwaukee Hub. She is an amazing social media expert. She's worked at a number of huge companies dealing with their community programs and social. She's also an amazing writer. We were talking about some of her side gig stuff where she's written books. You can find her on Amazon. One of her last books, The Chef's Secret, is available there. And the other one that we were kind of talking about as well. She is a social media professor for HubSpot Academy. So you probably might have seen her if you've taken some of the certifications. I know she kind of utilizes her team and curates all of that content and gets ready from an Academy certification standpoint. So I am going to pass over the baton here to Crystal. You're just going to have to bear with us for a second as we transition sharing screens and getting used to Bevy here. So give me 1 second and I'm going to pass this along. Crystal, looks like you're all right on video. So I'm going to stop sharing here and then I will turn off my video and mute myself as well.
Okay, I'm going to touch sharing screen. I won't be able to see you when I do it, so tell me if you can see it.
All right, we'll try that first right now.
Okay. And can you see my screen?
Yep, everything's rocking.
Okay, great. And as I said, I can't see anything but my presentation, so please, jump in if there's, a reason to stop me or a question or something like that.
Good.
Okay, so we're going to talk all about HubSpot social media 2021. I'll start a little bit with me. As was mentioned, I am the HubSpot Academy social media professor. You've probably seen me in social media certifications, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram lessons. I'm also featured in some of the inbound and HubSpot marketing courses. So, and I've been with HubSpot for almost 4 years. Before that, I was leading community at Pegasystems, and I led the social media team at Keurig, Global Social Media at CA Technologies, and previously was managing social PR at Sybase, which is now part of SAP. And as mentioned, I also write books about culinary figures in Italian history. My first book, Feast of Sorrows, about ancient Rome and the gourmand Apicius. And so it's all food too. And The Chef's Secret is about a Renaissance chef, Bartolomeo Scalpi. And as I was mentioning, as people were to get on, the cool things about writing books, I get to do my research in Italy. So that's pretty awesome. Okay, and we're going to go over a few things in this session. We're going to talk about some social media trends and things that are, of course, happening in this particular year. And then I'm going to go through the HubSpot tool and show you a few key things. I know a lot of people are familiar with bits of the tool, but may not necessarily be using it as part of the platform or would like to understand more about it. We're going to do a walkthrough. And so you should be familiar with HubSpot Academy by now, but in the event that there are some people that are just joining and aren't familiar, we have all sorts of comprehensive certifications and topic courses and any kind of, we have lots of courses to help businesses really ramp up their employees. We have 1,200 universities around the globe that are using our certifications as part of your undergrad, graduate curriculum. And if you're looking to learn more about marketing, sales, and in that realm at all, we've got all sorts of courses. And the really cool thing about what we do versus other people that offer courses is that ours are all free. Let's talk about social media. First of all, we can't ignore the thing that has changed our world completely and utterly. We are living through seriously historic times. And during this, social media just jumped like that. As you probably know, as your own friends and family, we're starting to turn to social so that they can talk to each other for entertainment, and just to stay connected. So uh, the numbers jumped by 13%, half a billion new users um, in 2021. So 4.2 billion people. That's really remarkable. And it's changing the way that we buy. And these numbers, I think, are really particularly interesting. So 7% of internet users, 55 to 64, purchased something online in the last month. So that means they're going to the web. Everybody is getting comfortable with ordering groceries, buying clothes, purchasing a million things from Amazon. My Amazon record of what I've purchased this year is rather shameful. 60% of Gen Zers are using Instagram to discover brands and products. I am not a Gen Zer and I'm not a millennial, but I have definitely been buying some things off of Instagram. So you can assume that that number is a lot more broad across demographics.
Hey, Crystal,
And
sorry to cut you off here mid-presentation. So we're just getting a little feedback that I think maybe it might be the Wi-Fi, but it sounds like the audio is cutting out a little bit. So I don't know if maybe turning off your video would maybe smooth that out, and we just test it.
yeah, let's see. Okay. Can you still see my screen?
Yep, and I can. Yep, I think that might be the ticket there, Shannon. I'll give you kudos and maybe some extra swag for that one. Thank you.
Yeah, good call. And it looks like I had an echo on my end, and that's missing too. And the really crazy thing is that I pay for a high-speed internet at home too.
Oh, they didn't like the video on that, so everybody's shouting out that it's a lot better. So we're all good.
Okay, well at least you can hear me.
Yep,
so 48% of Americans 18 to 34 have made a purchase through social media. So that means they're not necessarily online. They're actually just clicking through from Instagram and they're buying right from there, or they're buying right from YouTube, or they're doing something very specific in social media. And that is a really significant thing to think about. The thing here is that you're probably thinking is like, okay, that's all nice and fine and dandy, but I'm a B2B company. And so what does this have to do with me? It has really changed the way B2B sales are working. Recently, McKinsey found that 70 to 80% of B2B decision makers prefer remote interactions. And if you think about like how you are becoming accustomed to doing things in this digital world, it's just easier to do things online in a lot of cases. We're saving money by not traveling. It's certainly safer when it comes to being in a pandemic. So people in the B2B world would prefer to do things online, at least this last year and probably this year. And the convenience of doing that online will probably stay. 705 buyers stated they're willing to independently purchase new items online in excess of $50,000, and 27% are comfortable in excess of $500,000. These are numbers that in the past we would not have thought that executives would be comfortable making that kind of a decision without potentially meeting with the vendor, without really feeling like they know the person that they're spending that much money with. And they expect that this model will stick around in the long run. If you're not using social media right now, and if you're not thinking about how you can attract buyers through social media, then you should probably start thinking a little bit more about how do you wrangle your head around the power of social media. Because it really is an opportunity. People want online engagement. They're looking for conversations and real connections. Sales are just not a priority for customers. They want to engage with people, they want to be informed, and they want to be educated. They're also caring a lot more about social issues, which we're going to talk about in a bit. And building relationships with your customers should be the ultimate goal. So really what you need to do is start thinking about, how do I know my customers better? How do I be in the places where my customers are when they need me, versus pushing stuff at them? And of course, if you are somebody who's using HubSpot, you know that we really believe in the inbound philosophy, but there has been no time better than now to really embrace inbound to reach customers. So there's a few very specific trends. First of all, socially conscious audiences. We've seen this really specifically with COVID. People care more about mental health, inclusivity, social justice, and companies and brands are realizing that their consumers are wanting them to they want to understand what businesses are doing or thinking about social issues. Snackable content, that is the idea of the short form video, and all of them are starting to have short form video. Live video, and I would say live audio as well. Live streaming was already a really big trend prior to this whole health crisis, but now with YouTube and with the ability for us to go live from our phones anytime we want, people are gravitating to these live events. I have attended so many live events around the world, whether it be so there's a lot of travel agencies, for example, that are switching over to doing more education about the places that they are, or doing walks in different countries that I can't be at any moment. And there's lots of live events that I've attended for concerts over the course of the last year. If you start thinking about the last year and the live events that you might have watched, it's probably in excess of what you had done in the previous year. And that will continue. Authenticity is a really big thing that consumers want. We've got a lot of people decrying that news is not as legitimate as it used to be. People want privacy. We have all sorts of new laws and regulations on a global stage that are starting to make its way into the US. So GDPR in Europe has affected how some companies here need to think about privacy in the US. California, for example, has implemented really strict privacy laws, and the iOS shifts that have happened with ads have also added to that. But we're going to walk through these a little bit more specifically. So consumers want to support brands that have social causes aligned with their product or service. That doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be somebody that a brand that is doing things that are in this sphere. You might not want to get involved in politics or get involved in some of the social issues that are at the forefront of our news today. But if you aren't, you also need to be prepared to respond to that. Let me go back, sorry. You need to be able to know that customers may expect that of you and ask you of it. And that means you need to really understand your target audience and discover the social issues that they care about. So if you are a clothing company and you're starting to realize that your consumers are wanting to have, I'm actually kind of conflating this with environmental issues at the moment. I'm having somebody incessantly phone calling me at the moment, so my apologies for being slightly distracted.
No worries.
You must understand your target audience. You also need to believe in your mission and stand for it. If you decide that you want to delve into the realm of these socially conscious issues, and you have to really be ready to stand by it. So, for example, Ben & Jerry's is, everybody's familiar with their ice cream. They have gone the route of actually creating ice creams that stand up for particular social issues. and their social media reflects this too. They just do not pull any punches. They are very clear about what they believe in. At HubSpot, we believe in inclusivity and diversity, and we have adjusted our social media to represent those values that we believe in very strongly and that our founders believe in very strongly. But we also know that these issues can be fraught with all sorts of challenges and controversy. And so you need to have a crisis plan ready in the event that that kind of controversy arises. The other thing that people are starting to care a lot about is the short form video. So TikTok is the most downloaded app of 2020 with 850 million users installing it on their phones. I know it was the #1 downloaded app in the UK. I'm not sure about US, but it wouldn't surprise me if it's US as well. Deloitte found that nearly 40% of Americans are spending more than 1 hour a week watching these videos. And if you think about how many times, like maybe you've picked up Instagram and you accidentally ended up in their Reels section of Instagram, which is a competitor to TikTok, and you just end up in this endless scroll of videos, or you do this on TikTok too. I go looking for examples for social media things that I'm doing in these platforms, and next thing I know, a half an hour is gone because I'm watching food videos and dances and all sorts of things. But the thing is that these short form videos are not just for kids anymore. They're not all about dances, and they're not all food hacks. Oops. But they are starting to be utilized more frequently by B2B and by companies that have other types of things that they want to reach their consumers with. There's a doctor that I feature in the Instagram, in my most recent Instagram lesson that just launched last fall. And they are using Reels to give information, to educate about particular information. It's a doctor, and it's a B2B sort of thing in the healthcare system. And he's doing updates on TikTok about certain medical issues. If you check out these particular Instagram and TikTok handles here, Sage UKI is a company in the United Kingdom that has this, and they do office types of software and supplies. And they have a program called Boss It 2021, which has had over 8.2 billion views. And they were offering £5,000 for anyone in a small business that wants to share, do a TikTok of their small business setup at home and what they do at home. What does that look like? And so they've had all sorts of people that have joined in to create these TikToks. Adobe has a wonderful TikTok. Microsoft 365 does a lot of education through TikTok. And if you look at Bird's Eye View is another one that is also a B2B company that is totally failing on exactly what they are now, because I created this a couple weeks ago. But manufacturing, solar energy, and tile installation are examples of the hashtags that you can look for. If you can think of a hashtag, you can look for it on TikTok or look for it on Instagram and probably find all sorts of things related to it. If you are an organization of medium to large size, you should be looking for your company and seeing what people are saying about it. People are making TikTok videos all the time about HubSpot, for example. So it's not just for kids anymore. And short form video can also be found on YouTube, which has YouTube Shorts now. And I'm sure you'll start to see this on potentially on Pinterest in the future. And of course, it's always been on Snapchat. That's where it all began. Live video streaming industry increased 99% in 2020. We know this is because of the pandemic. You are here with me live for this very reason. And 80% of consumers prefer live videos to blog posts. And that's really interesting. So maybe if you're writing a ton of blog posts, you should shift some of that energy into live video. I wouldn't recommend all live video though, because those blog posts are very good for SEO and they're great content for social media in general. But it can be helpful for you to potentially think about how do you do more live events and more live video. You need to make sure your videos are high quality with good sound. As you can see, we had some glitches this morning with my video. And so definitely just a lot of testing ahead of time. Of course, there's always the chance that something will go wrong in the moment. That's something you just face with live video, and you make the best of it. Start on time. Online videos with a startup time that it takes longer than 2 seconds. And I mean turning it on, not waiting for people to join. I mean actually starting it at time. They have better streaming. If you start a little bit late, people will just be like, oh, this isn't started yet. I don't really have time. I'm not going to do it. Each additional second results in 6% more viewers bouncing. That's really, really amazing. So start on time. And then the next thing that people care about is authenticity. People want to believe in the information that you are providing them. 57% of online users believe the media is contaminated with untrustworthy information. That's kind of sad and scary, especially for my little journalist heart. That's where I actually started out and went to college for. And so as a business, you might be thinking, oh, I'm not in the world of news. What does this mean for me? But you are providing your consumers with information and news, and they need to be able to trust it. 65% of social media users are familiar with Cambridge Analytica, and 37% of people are using Facebook less as a result of the scandal. And I think that these numbers are actually a lot different than that. So if you think about your Facebook and how many people you know on Facebook, but how many people are not using it as much as they used to, I'll bet those numbers are pretty significant. You may yourself have a Facebook page that you're like, I just don't use it in the same way anymore. I don't go there for information. And so I think that that is something that we are starting to see that is happening. And it will be interesting to see if Facebook can recover from that erosion of trust. So what you really need to be doing is you need to be really honest and very real with people. You need to talk to people one-to-one. You need to have conversations with them. You need to respond to them. And people want to buy directly from people. They don't want to buy from a logo, a brand. If you have a conversation with people in social media, it builds affinity, it builds loyalty, and it helps to turn those individuals into brand evangelists for you. If they feel like your company is somebody that really listens to what you have to say, you're going to be more likely to tell other people about it. Okay, so let's walk through the HubSpot social media tool. As you know, inbound, it's the ultimate way to do business. I'm not going to go too much here, but what's really cool about the HubSpot platform with social is that it's really the only platform that has social built in such a way where you can monitor all of your social media, but you can also tie that into campaigns for your blog posts. You can tie it into your email newsletters. You can tie it into all sorts of different aspects of the HubSpot platform and monitor and manage all of that in one place. So that is something that a lot of people don't realize, but having those connections is very cool. One thing that I will also say is that since I mentioned that I'm a novelist and I write books, unfortunately, the world of books is not nearly as lucrative for most authors as you might expect. You need to be either really lucky or really prolific, but the majority of authors are also having to sell their own books. And so I'm my own small business, and my best perk of the company, in my opinion, is having HubSpot and being able to use the Enterprise Edition. I feel so grateful for that, because I have to sell my books and tell the world about my books in the way that you probably need to talk to your customers. So you're going to see lots of examples here that are real examples of me using the tool to reach my customers. Three things you need to keep in mind as you're building your HubSpot social media strategy. First of all, you need to keep your buyer persona in mind. If you know your ideal buyer, it's going to help you shape the content and figure out what channels matter most to you. If you find out that your ideal buyer is maybe not small business, maybe it's mid-sized business, that might shift the way that you decide to do your advertising, or the way that you decide to think about LinkedIn, for example. If you realize, oh, my demographic's actually younger than I thought it was, then maybe you should pay more attention to TikTok in a way that you wouldn't have thought about before. So you really need to understand who your buyer is, what they like to do, where they like to be. If you're not sure about who your buyer is and you need to create a buyer persona, just do a quick Google search for the HubSpot buyer persona tool. And we actually have a tool that will walk you through how do you think about your customers, how do you find information and create a buyer persona. You need to think about your business goals. You should always have your social media strategy tightly locked in with the goals and objectives that your company has. It shouldn't be working in a silo, just what you think it might be. It really needs to be what is the company trying to achieve? Where are they trying to reach? So for example, one of the things I talked about is that the company, HubSpot, in championing particular social issues. It's actually part of our company goals and objectives. Result that transfers into our social media. So we have goals that are around particular issues in our social strategy. That may not be the case for your company. You might have other types of things, but it should start at the top and trickle down. Tie-in campaigns. When you use HubSpot, as I mentioned, you can tie it all into campaigns and look at the campaign as a whole, and that should include social media. So you can monitor in HubSpot. You reach HubSpot actually here in the marketing, in this particular part of the menu. Marketing and social media is part of that. And when you first go there, you'll actually end up on the manage page to start, but I like to begin in the monitoring side because this is the first thing you should be doing if you're not really using social media very well, or you are just getting started. You really need to be monitoring your conversations, finding out what you can about your customers. And here you can see that I can see how many recent tweets and reshares I've had. In this particular one, there weren't too many, but I just posted these. But you can see I have 69 conversations I can be checking out. I have different interactions. I have 179 new followers. I can click through and see more about those new followers and look at their profiles, follow them back. I can also create streams, which I'm going to talk a little bit about in a bit. And but what's really great here is that on this page, you can review all the conversations and interact with people. You can narrow it down by network too. HubSpot social is also part. I have access to it. If I wanted to, I could change this and look at HubSpot's social media instead of my own. So if you're an agency, for example, and you need to manage multiple clients, you can do that within this tool. So I've mentioned you can look at people's profiles. So this is somebody that I had a conversation, I have regular conversations with. She happens to be somebody I know, but you can see I can click through to her. She's another author who writes in a similar genre that I do, but I can see her following count, and I can see her recent interactions here. And you can see here that it says matched stream. So there's two of them, and that's because I have a stream that I'm monitoring certain kinds of conversations. And so we're going to talk about streams in a bit, but it's a great way to look at all of the people here. And this is wonderful too if you have customers that are following you. You can see that I'm going to go back really quick. So for example, I can see my blog subscribers in this Twitter stream. And let's say one of these individuals talked to me, but they showed up in my blog subscribers. I can click through and actually see more specifics about the social profiles of my customers, which is pretty remarkable. The streams, display any tweet that matches predefined saved searches on specific criteria. And so these are very similar. You can start most of them in Twitter. If you're familiar with Twitter lists, that they just can get pulled in here as a stream. And so this ancient Rome hashtag, for example, is a Twitter list that I brought into a stream. But I've also created streams for HubSpot Academy, so I can see who's talking about HubSpot Academy and respond to people who've taken our certifications. I can see people retweeting me. I can look at my blog subscribers, and I can see people who are talking about me. If you have HubSpot Enterprise, you can create competitor streams. So you can look at social media posts and see what your competitors are doing and match them against each other and get a sense of, how do I compare to my competitors? So if you have, it's in beta still, but accessible. If you have HubSpot Enterprise, you can click through there. If you're interested and you have one of the lower tiers, you do need to bump it up to Enterprise in order to access that. And you create streams very easily. You click on create streams. You can show tweets from like your contacts, for example. You can show from your blog subscribers. It's actually pretty amazing to be able to see the people that have interacted with you in HubSpot and then see what they're talking about in social. It's an amazing way to get to know your audience. You can also do all sorts of things like surprising and delighting too, and it can help you find people to respond to when they might be talking about your business or asking questions that your business could answer. They help you listen better. You can also monitor industry influencers, press. I have a list just for press and bloggers that I want to have small interactions with, regular ongoing interactions, so that I build familiarity. So when I have a book coming out, they'll be like, oh, I know her. I talked to her in social. Engaging with individuals who matter to your business increases loyalty, word of mouth, and purchasing possibilities. And social publishing is something that many of you may be using, but if not, it's super easy. I publish nearly everything I do through HubSpot's social. You can click create a social post within the tool, and that opens up a box that allows you to do that. If you're using Chrome, there's an extension that you can just click on the HubSpot logo in your browser, and it opens this same thing, and it allows you to create posts very easily from articles or things that you find on the net that you want to share with your audience. You can see here that once I've created that, it will go into this queue. It will actually go into this scheduled queue here. I can save things as drafts, and the published here will also give me some information about clicks and interactions. And when I click on these, I can sort by them and see how many people have interacted with things. You can also sort by time and campaigns. So campaigns are really cool because they allow you to measure everything in one place. So I can connect my landing pages, blog posts, social media, advertising, newsletters, downloads of particular things all in one place. And because it's all in one place, you can monitor all of the analytics in one place. So here's just an example. This isn't my campaign, but you can see, oops. There's an example here of like, what, I should stop touching that while I'm talking. There's an example here of what that looks like. Here's a post. You can see down at the bottom how many HubSpot track clicks there are, the impressions. It gives you a lot more data on it. When you can click through to individual assets, you can see how many things are downloaded. You can monitor this campaign and change things partway through and see if it makes a difference to the campaign. You can have campaigns that just run, that just keep running. So for example, for my book, Feast of Sorrow, which came out in 2017, I have a campaign that's just connected to promotions that I do for that book. So I can look at my promotions for that book over time and see it all in one place, even though the promotional stuff that I'm doing is mixed in with my other books and with work I'm doing in social media and other types of things that I'm talking about. You can also schedule all your posts. So you can see down at the bottom of this particular post, It says schedule another post. I can schedule all sorts of posts very easily by cloning them. You can there's a button on the main page that you can export and you can import Excel spreadsheets with all of your posts in them as well. And part of the scheduling too is that you can set up times that things would schedule and allow you to go. And then when you're in the tool, you just choose the time that you would like it to go. And there's another page, I believe it's in here. Yes. So one of the things that's also very cool about the calendar and the schedule is that once you've set up all your times, let's say one of the times that you picked is 9 o'clock in the morning, you can click this button on in the settings, publish like a human. So it will publish it within within 10 minutes of that 9 o'clock, so that it doesn't look like everything you're posting is on a schedule. It looks like a human is publishing those posts for you, because they're not all at a prescriptive time. I will take a moment to say, if there are things going on in the world or there's controversy going on with your business, it is often good to pause your social. And so you should be looking at what you have scheduled and pressing pause on them, which you can do. You can move them into drafts. You can change the time or the date on those very easily from the main page. You can also decide that you want all of your things to publish at the moment that you create them rather than scheduling them. And you can add in your bit.ly here as well. You can use a drag and drop calendar. You can see here that I am woefully bad at scheduling things on the weekend. So now I know this, and I can go in and say, okay, for June, my goals are to do a lot better at publishing on the weekends. And of course, if I click through on a particular day, I can see, like, for example, Thursday the 6th, I have 8 more posts on that day. I can also see here that I have a real imbalance of the posts that I'm posting. And if I were a business, this would be an actual business, a brick and mortar business. This would be a very different type of calendar. It would have a lot more consistency. But as an individual, I do have a little bit more leeway there. And then the cool thing too is that you can report on your success. You can analyze all your posts and see what's working or not. I mentioned here, you can look on this particular part here. You can click on the top and get your clicks and interactions and find out which posts really work. You can see that cats really do rule the internet. I had 6,000 click-throughs on this post, which actually was about remote working about a week before COVID hit. So suddenly that was actually probably not as much the kitty, but I still think cats rule the internet. You can change time periods, the campaigns. You can also, if you have multiple people that are part of your account that are posting, which you might have, then you can see which of your users posted items and how those are doing by that. And this is where you also you can get to your calendar. You can export posts here, and you can also schedule in bulk. That's where you schedule with the Excel spreadsheet. The reporting is pretty visual, which is nice. It's also really great when you need to screen share and clip things for your executives. You should be visiting your reports regularly so you can know what's working and what's not. If your numbers are low, that means you can shift and create new content that would be better. You can change the times of what you're posting, and maybe realize that, oh, this product is just not working and it's not resonating with people. Can we remarket it in some way? Can we shift gears and do something different? You can see an audience, published posts, interactions, and clicks here. You can also view your reports and for YouTube. So this is really nice. If you've got a really robust YouTube channel, you can pull all of these in and get a whole bunch of graphs and information. This is just one of the screens that'll allow you to be able to see all of the things that are happening in YouTube, but do it in a much cleaner and more visual way here within HubSpot. You can also view your reports for, this is the bottom of the reporting page. You can see all the top posts, and you can filter them by most clicks, by most shares, most impressions, most interactions. There's also reporting that's very specific to your social ads that have been pulled into the system. Oh, one thing I do need to mention that I forgot to early on, when it comes to the system, one thing that's really cool about HubSpot is once you've linked up your social accounts, if you're posting natively on those channels, so let's say I post something on Instagram from my phone, or I do something on Twitter directly from the web and I don't schedule it through HubSpot, it will still pull in all those posts into reporting. So you can still see what the interactions were and the clicks and the shares. There is some slight limitation on Instagram if you don't post through the system. You might not always see the photos show up, and there might be some reporting limitations, but for the most part, it pulls it all in and you can see it even if you didn't post it from within HubSpot. So that's a really nice feature in my opinion. And this is pretty much the end of the presentation. If you have not taken the HubSpot social media cert and you're interested, you can do so you can actually just do a quick Google for HubSpot social media certification if you don't want to type all that in right at the moment. But I am on @Crystalyn if you want to find me on Twitter, and you can also reach out to me through the HubSpot Academy channels as well. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and start sharing my video again. And
Perfect.
And then I'm ready to take questions.
Yeah, I can help you, or can you jump into the Q&A? There's a couple questions
right.
in the general chat as well as the Q&A, Crystal.
Everybody can still see and hear me, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to go directly to the Q&A tab, start there, and then I'll go to chat. So numbers for B2B sales and social. Oh, Steve is asking Lori. Okay.
No, that was from Lori.
What if your company's decided to remain neutral on social issues, living in a swing state? Yep. But you have a younger target audience. How do you stay engaged without offending 50% of potential clients? That is tricky. And there is a chance that you could offend certain clients if they ask you why you're not defending certain social issues. This is where you really just need to have a really good crisis plan in place. And that crisis plan should ask questions like, what if this happened? How would we react? What would we say? When do you escalate it from the social media admin up to through your PR team to something that your CEO board needs to care about? Just really figure out the crisis plan. That's the first thing to do. I think you can stay engaged on topics that are not related to social issues, but you definitely need to be ready to answer why you might not be weighing in on a social issue. Those answers could be something along the lines of, we have many customers with many different, views, and we're focused mostly on providing the best products and services for this thing that we do in our industry. But that's where you really need to work with your PR team on it, on the kind of communication, and engage more about your products and services. But again, just be ready to weigh in if those questions get asked. Okay, I'm going to go to the chat. Okay. All right, audio was breaking up. I'm so sorry about that. Okay. Did my PowerPoint just not move? It was just slow. Oh, I'm so sorry. How does HubSpot actively keep up with the changes that social media platforms make? That is hard. It's not the easiest to do. I know that just keeping my courses up to date is really challenging. But the good thing is that our HubSpot product team is working closely with the channels to get information about when changes take place, so that they can hopefully either have slightly early heads up or are able to get the news as soon as something happens. They can decide how they're going to make changes. We've been doing a lot of work on our back end infrastructure right now, and so I know of a lot of really exciting changes that are coming across in the next year or so, which we can't talk about, but they are they have their pulse on what's going on, and we've got just a really great team that is talking with all of the social platforms. Yeah, the content, sometimes B2B content is not applicable to B2C customers. What do you do about that? So what you need to do is come up with a particular way that you are scheduling content so you're not too heavy in one place, but not too light in others. So I actually face this in my own social media because I have multiple audiences. I have people that care about social media, but I have people that care about books. I have people that care about Italy, which I tweet and share a lot about, that might not even be readers, but might know readers. So I try to really have a percentage mix of the kinds of content that I'm sharing out. And that's probably the best advice I could give you there. The other thing you could think about too is concentrating certain kinds of content towards certain platforms. So, for example, LinkedIn might be a place where you're dealing a lot more specifically with your B2B customers, which it should be. It's definitely geared more towards B2B, but maybe Twitter is where your B2C interactions are, or Instagram. So you can also kind of do that as well, but try for a good mix of that. If you have a really strong product that's a B2C product, you could potentially create another feed for that, but I don't recommend fragmenting your audience more than you absolutely have to. So without knowing too much about your business, that would be kind of what I'm thinking. I would just think of a good mix. It's really hard to know without understanding a lot more. Do I have numbers for B2B sales on social? I don't off the top of my head, but I'm happy to see what I can find on that and get back to you. And I can send that to Steve and he can get that. YouTube Shorts. You can have shorts on your main channel. I wouldn't start a new channel for shorts. The thing is too is that they're short. So, and you can remove things. You can test things and remove them. I would just test them on your main channel because they don't stay forever. We're currently testing shorts right now, and I believe the first response on that has been pretty positive. YouTube is trying to capture you there just like everybody else, and they are making shorts very front and center on the mobile device. Did I miss other questions?
I don't think so. Does anybody have any other?
There we go. Maybe I can hear you.
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I don't think there was any other questions. But if anybody has them, I mean, you got a couple more minutes here to drop them in. Otherwise, I mean, I think it's really interesting to see. I think from my perspective of like seeing my 13-year-old, almost 14-year-old, and how he utilizes social, and going from Snapchat to YouTube and bouncing between other channels as well. But it's like the shorts is just, I mean, how they consume like everything now. And so trying to figure out if that relates to, as from a B2B standpoint or manufacturer, like even utilizing just video day to day with like Vidyard and one-to-one sales video. It's like you could see like there's going to be a big shift happening where these type of quick videos answering questions are going to be embedded in everything. I think I could see it being in chat bots and chats and chat tools and stuff like that.
Have you seen the videos? I think there's like a Reddit channel and there's the YouTube stuff on the hydraulics that wash things.
No, I haven't. No.
I can't think of the name off of the top of my head, but if you just do a Google, you find it. It's basically somebody figured out, well, I can do some cool stuff with this material. And it's just basically what does it look like when I wash the coffee mug, when I wash the watermelon, but using it in a way. I've also seen really interesting manufacturing videos of the back end of certain things, like how glass bottles are formed for like soda bottles in a manufacturing sort of setting. So these are things that consumers are interested because they're not familiar with, but key consumers of social media may very well be B2B people that are watching it. So that's what you need to think about. It's not just necessarily kids, it's also people that end up in a stream of stuff. And as long as they're following certain things that are of their interest, your information may pop up there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I saw there's a new chatbot tool, I think from Typeform. It's one video, or video ask, I think it's called. And I know somebody was showing me kind of, they utilize that where basically somebody comes, instead of a chatbot with just text, it's somebody's 15-second intro, like, hey, how's it going? And then they can do kind of the choose your own adventure. And then there's some other videos queued up. And I was just like, oh, that's a really, really interesting, simple way to kind of bring in some personality into even a chatbot tool. So
a lot
of
because people really don't want to talk computers, but they want it to be easy. So if there's ways to integrate it, it'll definitely be something that ends up being on.
Yeah. Well, I'm just gonna check. It looks like chat and Q&A is pretty good here. So, I mean, thank you so much. There's a lot of great tips and stats for everybody to kind of take back and utilize the HubSpot tool as well. So I really appreciate the time. Thank you so much.
Yeah. And if you get additional questions, feel free to send them to me. I'm happy to answer those.
Okay. All right, perfect. Let me see. One just dropped. Yep, just to have a thanks, Crystal here. So everybody, we're going to wrap up right now. Thank you so much for jumping on. I will make sure the recording goes out along with the links of the presentation, as well as some of the other stuff we mentioned at the beginning of the session. So thank you so much for joining us and kicking off our first HubSpot user group in Milwaukee for the year. So we'll be in touch. But thank you so much, Crystal. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, guys.
All right. Have a good one, everybody. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye.